folks, meet Mrs. Grace Eslick.
How do you do, Grace?
Welcome. This is my story. I was born in Lowman, Missouri, February 28, 1911, to Charles and Lula Strobel. I was one of 3 children. I had a brother, Albert, and a sister, Ronda. I attended elementary school in Lowman, graduated from Jefferson City, Missouri High School, 1928. I then went to the University of Central Missouri State Teachers College at Warrensburg and graduated in 1933 with a BA degree. Between 1933 and 1937, I taught all 8 grades, making $38.50 a month. That didn't go far, as I had to pay $15 a month for room and board.
Wow.
I was the principal of the grade school. I taught 7th and 8th grade girls, high school physical education, and 7th and 8th grade boys basketball. I was also active in scout work and was the camp counselor at Lynn Oak Camp, Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. 1938, after several summers visiting, I moved to Grand Lake and married Clyde Eslick. Clyde was the son of Georgia Smith and Alfred Eslick. They moved to Grand Lake when Clyde was 3.5 years old. I then began teaching all 8 grades in an old log schoolhouse along the Colorado River, which is now at the bottom of Lake Granby. At that time, I made $85 a month. I taught for 18 years in East Grand County, including at Grand Lake Elementary, which at that time was on Lake Avenue across from the Living Word Church. Some of you may know kids that went to school to me. I also taught for 17 years at West Grand County. In the 1950s, I spent my summers commuting across the Continental Divide to Greeley, where I earned my master's degree in library science. I was the head librarian in Kremlin for 17 years, driving almost 90 miles round trip every day. In my 43 years in education, I only missed 2 days of teaching. The Eslicks were indeed a strong and hardy pioneer family. Clyde was one of 7 children. In 1902, Clyde's grandfather, P.H. Smith, built the Hotel Bellevue on Grand Avenue, about 200 feet from the lake. The 2-story Bellevue had 60 rooms. In the winter of 1912, the hotel burned down. P.H. Smith and family soon replaced the Bellevue with a smaller 2-story hotel called the Nevada Cottage. It was advertised as being strictly modern with running water in every room. Unfortunately, it burned down shortly after being built. P.H. Smith owned a large block of land along Grand Avenue located where the bowling alley is today, and his woodworking shop is still standing behind the village hub. This is where he operated a sawmill and carpentry shop. The family, including Clyde, was active, building many cottages and buildings in town, to include the Grand Lake Community House and the Grand Lake Yacht Club. Around 1915, Clyde helped his father and grandfather build a cottage court. The first known motel in Grand Lake catered to the automobile tourist. The cottage court was also known as Eslick's Camp Cottages and the Eslick's Cabins. Each cabin was heated with a small wood stove and furnished with a bed and a chair. After Clyde's father, Alfred, died, his mother, Georgia, continued to operate the business every summer until 1947. Then Clyde and I welcomed tourists to the cottages until the 1960s. Clyde was an active man. He was entrusted the care and maintenance of most properties around Grand Lake. He served on the first Board of Trustees. He was president of the Grand Lake Water and Sanitation District, a Grand County Marshal, a Grand Lake Marshal, a volunteer firefighter, and a 31-year member of the Grand Lake Rotary Club. Never missed a meeting. He also administered the Grand Lake Cemetery. to include the opening and closing of some of these graves. When Clyde retired, we traveled extensively. Our travels covered the United States, Mexico, Central America, South America, Europe, China, Thailand, even Egypt. You see, Clyde and I were partners with our good friends, Thurr and Emmy Oscarson, in a travel agency that they ran in Golden. I captured many of our memories with brilliantly colored oil paintings, and in 2001, I was honored Artist of the Month. I served as the first town clerk when Grand Lake was incorporated in 1944. I obtained a real estate license and was a member of the Board of Realtors until I was 88 years old. I was an active member of the Trinity Church of the Pines, the Grand Lake Women's Club, Juniper Club, Music Study Club, and the Grand Lake Area Historical Association. I was president of Grand County Pioneer Society and worthy matron of order of the Eastern Star of Middle Park and regent of the DAR of the Middle Park chapter. I died at the age of 94, October 1st, 2005, in Kremlin, Colorado. Today, the Eslick Cottage Court still stands at the corner of Grand Avenue and Vine Street. However, the plans for the new Rocky Mountain Repertory Theater building don't allow for the cabins to remain on site. With the efforts of the Grand Lake Area Historical Association, the building is proposed to be relocated to the corner of Lake Avenue and Vine Street. I can only hope that the Grand Lake community will work together to save this unique and historic property. Thanks for coming.
Anyone have any questions for Mrs. Eslick?
This is Mrs. Eslick here.
Yes.
This is Mrs. Eslick here.
Well, this is the younger version of you.
She's very strict, so watch out.
I'm sorry.
gonna say.
If you have any questions regarding the restoration and moving of the cottage court, the little folders there on the
Brochures
fence
are
will
right here.
explain things to you.
Was Mrs. Eslick always cranky, or was she mostly jolly? No, mostly cranky, but she got the job done?
She was a strict teacher.
Very strict
Yeah.
teacher.
We got in lots of trouble.
Were you one of her students?
No, but I know what they went through.
Yeah.
I was subjected to this.
Her nephew, Larry Lindsay, went to school to her and can tell some stories about how strict she was.
Thank you, Mrs. Eslick.
Thanks, Miss Eslick.
Thank you.